Welcome back to the channel, fellow aviators. I am excited to be back with you and doing some flying in this episode. In the last episode, I really wanted to show and demonstrate how to incorporate AI pilots. And as I was going through that process, I just realized it was taking me much longer. And so I didn't do an hour and a half video. I just decided to make that its own standalone tutorial. So what the plan is for today is I am up in, I think, San Bernardino, and I'm going to return back to Torrance. As you see here up at the very top, I am literally only like 73 points away from upgrading to the next rank. When I upgrade to the next rank, I can take out a larger loan. So I think this is probably going to be the last flight in the 182. I know we didn't do a tremendous amount in this aircraft, and part of the reason is it is slightly buggy. As we talked about the mixture issue, we can work around that. It's definitely got some sound issues. And overall, I've picked up, I think, obviously outside that aircraft, another bug, which is another reason why I wasn't able to do any flying content either here or in my NeoFly series. But it looks like now, when I have my SimBrief import into the Garmin 430, once I do that, the direct to button does not work. Prior to the SimBrief import from the, I imported from the SimBrief into the Microsoft Flight Simulator iPad, and then I import that into the aircraft, it completely locks up my Garmin 430. And I have uninstalled, in the meantime, I have uninstalled 2024, reinstalled it again. I have shut down a bunch of my ads, and I can't figure out what's causing. So if you guys know, let me know down the bottom, because that actually affected my on-air flight as well. So, but we can work around that today because the 182 is compatible with my PMS 50, which is the touch screen that's movable, which I really, really like. So I can work around it today. So the plan will be, this will be the last flight in the 182. We are going to do it in IMC conditions. I'm using an excellent third-party program so I can bring in the rain, hopefully bring down the clouds. And we're going to do a ILS approach into Torrance. And then at that point, I will sell the aircraft off camera and we will pick up a new plane. I'm thinking right now, unless you guys would like to see something different, and if you do, please let me know down in the comments. I'm thinking about using the excellent Comanche 250. The downside on that aircraft is it is a Microsoft 2020 product, which that's okay. And it's fully updated all the time. AccuSim does a great job updating it. It works great in 24. It's just not natively. And I feel somewhat bad about bringing an older plane in and not flying any of the new stuff. But in 2020, and overall, it is by far the best piston single engine. It's up there in the top overall best aircraft ever produced for 2020, in a lot of people's opinion. So it's an excellent aircraft to use. The question is, would you like to see something different, though? So I'm thinking in this series playthrough, as we kind of level up, we will get larger and larger planes. I definitely wanted to highlight the Comanche 250 at some point. The question is whether I bring in another plane before then. So up to you guys what you'd like to see, but that's the plan right now. I'll probably bring in the 250 unless someone wants to see maybe the Coronado. Was that the 210 that came out a little while ago? And maybe I'll throw that in anyways. But so that's the plan. I think maybe one, maybe two more piston singles, and then we're going to advance up to something different. So once again, I appreciate all the support. Channel's been doing really well lately, and I appreciate everyone. Please leave a like, subscribe, and comment. Apparently, me telling you that has been working out. It's good. The channel's been doing well. So for my very, very small channel. So that's the plan. I'm going to take care of that all off air, so we can just kind of hurry out. But the next time I check in, we should be in San Bernardino. The weather should be down. And I'm going to use, I think, Say Intentions this time to bring us back into Torrance so you guys can see that as well. So I will see you all in just a few seconds. All right, everybody, welcome back. As you can see, we have the plane started up. I've double checked that the flight plan is correct and in the box. And now we need to pick up our clearance. So if you're using a AI program like Beyond ATC or Say Intentions, or just in the real world, this is the procedure you're going to want to do. You're going to want to pick up the ATIS first. Then you want to contact clearance. After that, you'll contact ground to taxi. And after that, you will switch over to the tower. So that's kind of like the 4 steps. And then after that, after you take off, your next frequency will be departure. So one of the things when you're flying in IMC, the workload can get very strenuous at times. And so you always want to try to be a step ahead of the aircraft. So you should always be asking yourself, especially when your moments when you're not doing anything, like what can I be doing next? Can I get my next frequency in? Can I get, for instance, in this instance, we know we're going to Torrance, so I can load up the ILS frequency. So always just try to stay a step ahead of the aircraft. So, all right, so now that we've done that, let me just show you, since I know that the PMS 50 is brand new. I'm not going to do, obviously, an in-depth tutorial on it, but just let me show you how it works. We need to get the ATIS, so we'll just come up here and click here at the standby, and then we can just type in our frequency 124.17, and there we go, 124.17, and then we can either transfer it here, which we can do, or you can simply click here. I'll show that next.
Density altitude 1600 feet. Arriving and departing runway 24. Advise on initial contact, you have information Lima. San Bernardino International Airport, information Lima. 1240 Zulu. Wind calm. Visibility 10. Sky conditions, clear. Temperature 1A. Dew point 10. Altimeter 3004. Density altitude 160.
All right, so we have the information code Lima. Now, obviously, I'm using a third-party add-on to bring down the weather, so obviously Microsoft Flight Simulator doesn't know we've done that. So what I'm really looking for there potentially is the code, maybe the altimeter setting, and other than that, unless you're actually using live weather and the weather's down. So the next step, of course, is we need to pull in our clearance. And where do you find that stuff? So let me just show you really quickly. And we'll go to our chart here. We'll flip it around so we can see the frequencies. So once again, there's our ATIS frequency right on the left. You should also see a clearance delivery frequency. And if you don't, that's okay. Then you'll just ask for clearance on ground, which in this case is 121.8. So let's go ahead and just put in that right now while we're waiting. 121.80, and we can transfer that. And then while we're waiting, also we'll come in here. As I told you, we always want to stay a step ahead, so we know the next frequency after ground will be tower. So we'll put in the tower frequency, and now we're all set. So at this point, all we need to do is pick up our clearance, and the clearance is going to come with, it's going to tell you what you're cleared to. So there's like an acronym CRAFT that you can use, but it's going to tell you what you're cleared to, if there's probably going to be any radar vectors, the altitude you're going to fly at, the frequency for the departure control, and then what your squawk code is going to be. So those are the things you're going to want to know. If you're using a program like Beyond ATC, it will actually type it out for you, so you can just pull it up and look at it. If not, just bring a little scratch paper. Don't try to memorize it all in your head. None of us do. So, all right, so the next step for us now is to pick up our clearance. So let's do that. And good morning, San Bernardino ground. Cessna 182 Delta Delta, ready to copy IFR clearance to Torrance, information Lima.
I'll grab that clearance. Give me just a minute. Cessna 182 Delta Delta, San Bernardino International Airport ground, cleared to Torrance. Radar vectors rave on, then as filed. Climb and maintain 4,000. Expect 5,010 minutes after departure. Departure on 127.0, squawk 6174. And a change to your departure runway this time. You can expect runway 24.
All right, San Bernardino ground, 182 Delta Delta, cleared radar vectors to Ravon, as filed, climb maintain for the 4,000, expect 5,000, departure frequency 127.0, and we are squawking 6174 and expecting runway 24.
Cessna 2 Delta Delta, read back correct.
Okay, so at this point, we would be done if we were on departure clearance. And like I said, this is going to work for you whether you're flying an airliner or just a small little plane like this. So since we are going to be contacting ground now, we just stay on ground. And let's get the aircraft set up, right? So as I said, we always want to try to stay a step ahead so we know our squawk code is going to be, what was it? 6174. Type that in here, make sure we're on out. We are. We know we've been told, oh my gosh, words are hard today. We have been told to expect 4,000, so we'll dial that in. We can also come over to the 10-9 chart here and check out our runway heading, which in this case is 237. So we can set a heading bug over to 237. We'll just fine tune it once we get over there. And at this point, I think we're ready to go. Actually, looks like we lost in the standby.
Hold at holding point Tango Tree.
19.
Following Learjet, holding at Tango Tree, Embraer 225.
45. So we now have the tower in there is our standby. And as I mentioned, we can even put in our, if we look it up, we can even put in our
Amazon
ILS frequency or nav localizer frequency 111.
With information Oscar ready to get clearance
0.90.
to Oakland.
And now we've already set up our frequencies. We can put that in both.
Ground, Amazon 552 heavy with information Oscar ready for IFR clearance to Oakland.
Okay. All right, there we go. All right, so that all checks out. That's our number 2 radio. 121.5 is what you'd want to use as your emergency frequency. You'd kind of monitor it. I don't know if general aviation does, but we definitely do in the airlines. So we'll be transmitting and listening on number 1. Number 2, we'll just listen on it. That way, if someone needs to relay something to clearance, or if someone's getting lost, if they need some help, or actually sometimes if you miss a frequency change, the center will broadcast on 121 looking for the airline, like, hey, are you guys up on 121.5? So it's kind of a standard thing. Probably not as much on a smaller kind of GA flight. All right, so the taxi, they told us to expect runway 24, so the next thing we can do is just kind of mentally prepare ourselves before we call. And so we're facing to the north straight ahead here, and it looks like to get to runway 24 nice and quick. And it's just going to be kind of probably a right turn. We can probably expect to go down Echo, then make a left turn onto Alpha into the end of the runway. So just kind of a good idea that before you call, you kind of know where you're going, or at least expect. You know, we're highly trained professionals, so we'll deal with whatever they tell us. But if you have kind of an idea before you go, and then obviously I'm using the Navigraph chart, so I have the nice own ship. It tells me exactly where I'm at. Very, very convenient. All right, so we've done all that. Let's go ahead and contact ground to get our taxi clearance. And ground, Cessna 182 Delta Delta, ready to taxi runway 24.
Cessna 2 Delta Delta, taxi to runway 24 via Echo Alpha.
Taxi runway 24 via Echo Alpha 2 Delta Delta. All right. So we can leave that up. It's obviously pretty simple to get to, but the visibility is kind of down. So let me turn on my head tracking. We center that.
I'm working on that clearance.
Drop the brakes, and I'll just meet you out on the runway. It's gonna be a short taxi, and I don't want to get this episode to be too long. So meet you out the runway just before we get ready to go.
Ground
All right, everybody, I am back with you. We got all the lights on. We are all prepared to go. So let's go ahead and switch to our tower frequency. Let's make sure we get our departure frequency was at 127.0. Get that into the standby. And at this point, I think we are all set and ready to go. San Bernardino Tower, Cessna 182 Delta Delta, holding short runway 24, ready to depart.
Cessna 182 Delta Delta, San Bernardino International Airport Tower, runway 24, winds 340 at 4, fly runway heading cleared for takeoff.
Fly runway heading clear for takeoff to Delta Delta. All right, one last check. Everything looks like it's on. Getting used to flying the 182. I've been flying a lot of different aircraft lately. I forgot this one's a little bit sensitive on the rudder controls. I know it's got that kind of weird pull to the right. So let's just get lined up right on the runway. Got plenty of runway here. All right, quick check down here. Let's make sure our synced up there. That looks good, and I think it is time to go. All right, coming up about 65, 70 knots.
Skylane 422 Alpha, Mike, make left traffic, runway 36, cleared for takeoff.
Nice takeoff,
Making left
pilot.
traffic cleared
Have
for
a safe and
takeoff,
steady
runway
flight.
36, Skylane
All right, so we got a high
422
workload
Alpha,
coming
Mike.
on. So let's go ahead and engage the autopilot. We're in a roll heading, roll mode, so let's select heading. And
414
then
Sierra Bravo, you're leaving my airspace. Frequency change approved.
let's check our vertical speed. Use maybe 700 feet. This airplane doesn't like a whole lot. We have no flaps to deal with. So I think we're good. Just checking our airspeed. It's a little bit fast on the climb, but I know as we climb a little bit higher, it'll start slowing down. We'll bring in maybe 800. It's got to be very careful. It will start to slow up a lot if you start using definitely over 1,000. The great thing I like about the PMS right here is you can drag that screen around. Our very first fix is right there, Rayvon.
Cessna 2 Delta Delta, contact departure.
Contact departure to Delta Delta. Good morning, Cessna 182 Delta Delta, checking in 2,000, climbing 4,000, runway heading.
Cessna 182 Delta Delta, San Bernardino departure, radar contact, climb and maintain 4,000, turn right heading 270, vectors to Ravon, then own navigation.
Right turn heading 270 to Ravon, then own navigation. Dial in 270. We've already got 4,000 set. This would be kind of a weird fix, but we can now then see if we can activate the leg to Ravon. Okay, and then we can select nav. I think this is not going to work out for us. It's a problem with some of these ATC. So we're going to go behind that. So let us instead.
Blue 563, contact approach on 119.5, good day. 119.5, good day, JetBlue 563.
And we don't want to connect it. So
Commanding
let's
2529 Whiskey SoCal approach.
Back.
Squawk 2173 and
Civet.
altimeter 29901.
Activate
Say
leg.
altitude passing. 29901.
And now, as we, well, that's close enough for government work. As we get a little bit closer, it should then activate.
Comanche 29er Whiskey radar
As if we're
contact,
right.
3
Let's
miles
go back
southeast
to,
of Redlands
heading.
Municipal Airport at 3,600 feet. Redlands altimeter 299er1.
What we want to do is intercept that magenta line and bring us directly to Ravon. That's good. Let's see, and we can put nav in there. That should, we want to double check that. Let's check our speed. 100 knots, that's good. Around 90 is what you kind of want for max rated climb. Excellent. So now we are underway to our next fix, which is Civet. And we are 3,800 for 4,000 feet.
American 1995, 14,000.
And that's it. So,
American 1995
as you can see,
radar
though, a
contact.
lot of work takes place real quickly, and you just have to be prepared for instance, that would have not been a great initial 270 heading. Wasn't going to be a great fix for us. So you can either kind of just head direct to Ravon at that point, or your other fix, or honestly, we could have kind of just gone straight ahead. If I wasn't already in the term, we just would have gone straight ahead and intercepted it, and it would have picked up. So,
Cessna 29er Sierra Tango.
all right, now that we are up at altitude, we can close
El Monte Echo Mike.
our cow flaps.
Cessna 7 Juliet Mike Roger, continue to El Monte EMT. Proceed on course, Cessna Juliet Mike.
Southwest 3439, contact SoCal departure on 127.0.
Over to SoCal departure on 127.0, Southwest 3439.
Cessna 2 Delta Delta. Expect the ILS runway 29er right approach into Torrance.
2 Delta Delta expecting the ILS 29 right into Torrance. So generally the rule is when you are communicating on the radio, the very first time you speak with them, you give them the full call sign, so 182 Delta Delta, and then the next time you talk to that same controller, you'll just use your last three.
Cessna
So
2 Delta Delta. Contact Ontario approach on 125.5.
Cirrus 981 Tango Mike, descend to 2000, cleared ILS 18.
contact departure on 125.5 2 Delta Delta.
Contact Ontario Tower, Delta 1132.
Oh, it already auto-populated for me. So there's a couple different versions in Say Intentions, and I brought it down to the easiest version because I plan on doing a tutorial for you guys, and it automatically populates for you, which is kind of nice. So I don't have to do that. And good morning, departures. Cessna 182 Delta Delta, checking in 4,000.
Cessna 182 Delta Delta, Ontario approach. Good morning, Riverside, altimeter 29er.901.
2991 2 Delta Delta. That's pretty close. And at some point, they'll probably bring us up to 5,000. And at which point, that's what they do sooner, so I can demonstrate for you. We'll just put in our next frequency, 5,000. When they ask us, we're going to hit the Alt button to climb. That will change us to a vertical speed mode as opposed to Alt, as you see. And then we can use these up or down arrows to select. So we still have
Ontario approach, United 1044, 14,000.
a fairly, not fairly long, but it's
Radar contact.
60 something miles. So I'll probably just cut you out here, and then I'll bring you in just as we get a little bit closer as we shoot the approach. So I don't think a whole lot's going to change. We're going to go through a couple different frequency swaps until we get a little bit closer. So we still have a ways to go. So at this point, I will cut out here, and I will pick you up just as we are getting probably ready to descend. All right, see you in a minute. All right, everybody, checking back in with you. We were given the cleared for the approach probably about 10 minutes ago, way out. I was really surprised by that. So what we were told to do is we were cleared for the approach, and we can descend and maintain 2,000. So I can now show you what to change altitudes. We're just going to dial in 2,000, you see we have out there. We press the button, it switches to vertical speed mode, and now we will descend. 1,000 feet per minute on our way to Seal Beach, and then from Seal Beach outbound. And as we look at the chart up there, I haven't done a full chart brief, but I will link up in the description, or not in the description, in the video above. In the right there should be a box, and I will link how to read an approach plate. I don't want to make this video way too long, but effectively what we're going to want to do is
descend and maintain altitude 10,000.
Descend to 2,000 feet, which is not only our clearance, but the glide slope intercept at Zilday. We have dialed in our OBS, which is our Omni Bearing Selector. Here, as I'll make an edit, and here, so we are all set up for the approach. We have our localizer frequency in there of 11.
7006 Tree 5 Juliet Whiskey.
So I don't know what that was. I was going to mention previously that you have to be concerned about mountain obstruction for clearance, but we are over Seal Beach at 4,000. So that's a bit disappointing. Let me figure out something. What I'll do is I'll probably see if I can get set up on an approach, and I'll just demonstrate the approach. All right, I'll check back in with you here in just a second. Wow. So if I hadn't recorded it, I'm almost at a loss for words. So as you see here, we'll zoom in. We are just coming up over Seal Beach. We're taking off at Los Alamitos, which is right over the Seal Beach VOR, which is where we were heading. We're about maybe 5 miles away. And as you can see at the altimeter, the airport elevation is 10 feet. So I don't know what caused us to, and I'm making giant air quotes as I'm saying this, crash at 4,000 feet, starting to descend to 2,000. No idea. You guys saw it. So anyways, what I've done is I've loaded up in Los Alamitos. I've loaded up the approach as what we were going in, where we were going from Seal Beach down here to Drifty, then Zilba right there, which is the glide slope intercept. So I'm just going to climb up to, as we look down here, to 2,000 feet, head out towards the approach, and then I'll check back in with you. I don't know, guys. I am not running the beta as an FYI, and I don't know what everyone's experience is. It seems like when SU2 came out or whatever, the latest version, I think it just made things worse in terms of, as soon as I tried to reload in, FYI, as soon as I tried to reload in, not surprising, I got a crash to desktop. So I have no idea what's going on with this program, but we're still going to make it work. The goal is just to show you how to shoot the approach, and I'm going to kind of get us out right on course, and hopefully we'll hit 2,000 feet before we hit, was at O'Day or whatever it is out here, and we will then, I'll just show you the procedure. Okay, guys, so I apologize for that. I don't know. So let me get up and underway here, and I'll see you all in just a few seconds. And I've turned off Beyond ATC because it's all probably cockamamie now as we're sitting on the ground someplace. So, but the procedure, that's really just enhances kind of like the realism. You saw we were getting a lot of air traffic control calls. They say Intentions just released its traffic injection, which I think has really been a major improvement for the software. I definitely highly recommend. I also recommend Beyond ATC as well, but for different reasons. But like I said, I think I'll make a whole tutorial on how to get everything set up with SimBrieve, the differences beyond ATC and say Intentions. But enough yippity yap. Let us get in the air, and hopefully we land at Torrance. All right, see you in a second. All right, we are back in business. As you see, we are approaching Odeki, which is the initial approach fix. So one thing, when you are planning out your own routes, you don't have to go to the initial approach fix. If you are making your own kind of vector, you just want to turn outside the glide slope intercept. I know that probably might be confusing for some of you newer people, and I'll be going through more and more of this later as we do more instrument work. But what's happening now is we need to be at 2,000, and we are. And now what's going to happen next is the aircraft is, because we have GPS compatibility, it's going to turn us in towards Torrance into the 29 right ILS, but it's not going to give us lateral guidance, right? Or it's going to give us lateral guidance, but it's not going to give us vertical guidance in this mode. So we're just going to have to switch modes. And so the procedure, what you're going to want to do is at some point you probably need to go on to heading, and then we need to change from, you see at the bottom of the screen of the GPS, it says term, which stands for the accuracy. It's in the terminal area. But the magenta GPS, it's in GPS mode. So we just need to get out of GPS mode at some point. So if you are lucky enough to be using like a GPS to get yourself established on the final approach fix and on course, just leave it for now. If you are coming in, let's say on a downwind, then you're just going to switch over to a heading mode, which I'll kind of demonstrate here for just a second, and then switch us over to the VLOC mode and then to the approach. So in any event, we are inbound. At this point, our next fix is Driffy, and then we'll have Zilba. So at this stage, as you see Zilba up here, we can start thinking about configuring the aircraft. And the first thing we want to do is just kind of get slow ourselves down. And while it's slowed down here, what you're going to want to do is, because we're right on course, put your heading bug right straight ahead. Come down here, click heading. We're now in heading mode. Now click CDI, and you see how it changes to VLOC? That's exactly what we want. And then come down here and hit approach. And now it's going to nav off the localizer frequency of 111.9. So you want VLOC, and then hit approach mode, and it will hold the localizer frequency, and as the glide slope indicator starts to descend, it will then follow the glide slope all the way in. So we want to be under, if you haven't had all the frequencies memorized, that's totally, or all these airspeeds memorized, that's totally okay. As you look at the airspeed indicator, we just want to be below the white arc. And we want to do that before we start heading down, right? Because if you descend, what does that mean? I don't know what that is. We're right there, 11 o'clock. Anyways, if you descend and try to slow down as you're going down, it's going to be very, very difficult. So let's pull out a little bit of power here, just before we get to Zilday. Sorry, I don't know what this is. That like a, what is that? I don't know. Anyways, at 80 knots, we can put in our first notch of flaps. That's what we're going to kind of want to do, is get ourselves nice configured. You definitely want to be fully configured before you kick off that autopilot. And you want to be configured before you get to that glide slope intercept. Let's bring that back up. I'm starting to feel like this simulator's cursed. I don't know what that was. I'll circle it if you guys didn't see it. There's some weird artifact out there. Anyways, let's concentrate on what we're doing. So we are nice and level. We see that the glide slope indicator is coming down, so that looks good, and we should expect the aircraft to start to descend. just a few seconds. You're not going to get any kind of like announcement. You just have to kind of watch. And right about here, we should start seeing the aircraft start to descend. And there we go, picked up. So you've got a nice 500-600 feet per minute rate of descent. It's coming down. So of course, once that happens, we're going to start to accelerate. So we'll bring out a little bit more power. Just get rid of this chart for now, give us better visibility. And we'll kick on my, I probably don't need a track IR right yet. So 70 knots, probably a little bit too slow because we're going to bring our second notch up. Well, we'll just use one notch of flaps. That works fine. Verify they're down. They are. You do not have to use your full complement of flaps every time you land, especially when you have a long runway. I've actually found kind of like a first flap setting works really, really well. Or you can use 20, whatever you like. But as you do that, as we do that, we're going to increase drag, and then the aircraft will start slowing down. So whatever you want to do, you just want to be nice and stable. You notice the vertical speed's holding around between 600 and 700, and that is pretty standard. You'll hear me speak a lot about a 3-degree glide path, and usually, and that's exactly what you're going to kind of generally see, is around 600 to 700 feet rate of descent. So you can kind of almost plan out your own approaches if you kind of follow that. You know, if you're using more than 600-700 feet per minute rate of descent on your approach, you're probably coming in a bit. Is it too much? You're probably not as stable as you probably should be. The name of the game is to just be nice and stable. We'll turn that on now. Right now, I'm just using my throttle to control airspeed. Airport elevation is about 100 feet, so we have about 800 feet to go. 75 knots looks good. And my track IR stopped working. So, obviously, someone doesn't want me completing this flight. So you might just need to be a little bit active on the throttle. You see I was kind of stable at 75, then started speeding up a little bit. So really want to have a nice, good cross-check going here. All right, 600. So 500 feet to go. Feet to go. We've got ground contact. Now we're looking for the lights. All right, we got the runway lights in sight. Airspeed looks good. Runway is in sight, and as we come up here, we'll just kick off the autopilot. It should be nice and trimmed out.
Transporter from dispatch. Nice landing. Go to the parking and put your parking brake on. I'll be in touch. Taxi to parking and shut down your engine.
And Visibility is really bad down here. Just like real. All right, so that was it, folks. That was a ILS approach, despite the computer and Microsoft Flight Simulator conspiring against us. We got it done. So, as you know, this my NeoFly series is a little bit more. I like to teach a little bit more in this. If you have any questions, obviously, just ask me in the description below. But we will kind of continue to using say intentions beyond ATC, trying to incorporate real world procedures as much as we can. There are definitely obviously some limitations with the sim, apparently, and with even say intentions. But if we have a good foundation of understanding what the fundamentals are of the procedures, I think it makes for a very more enjoyable flight. I was actually literally going to say, just as we had that crash there, that you do have to be very careful though, because sometimes both beyond ATC and say intentions is not going to give you obstruction clearance, which means if you're flying over a mountainous area, I've had many times where I've used the say intentions when I was up in Northern California, for instance, and I had to hop over like a small little ridge line. It in fact did not account for that, so I had to just climb on my own. And you always have to prepare with all these programs to make some adjustments and be prepared that it may give you a bad vector, it may be late in the vector, and so you just need to be a little bit prepared. But overall I still like using them. Anyways, we were able to complete this mission despite everything that happened, and I hope you got something out of it. Hope it was enjoyable. Like I said, leave a like, subscribe, comment, please. It really helps out the channel if you enjoy the content. If you have any more kind of requests, definitely let me know. And I probably should have mentioned this earlier. A lot of times on my Discord, which there'll be a link in the description below, if I am not recording something, I'm usually just streaming on one of my channels where you can just kind of, if you'd like to hop in. If you have some questions and you have the ability to stream, I'd be happy to maybe jump on your stream for a little bit and I don't know if coaching is the right word, but kind of help out if there's anything I can assist you with. Anyways, that is it for now. Editing's going to be a real challenge, but I will see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching. Take care for now. Bye.